guys, and welcome back to today's self-care Sunday video. So today I thought I would chat to you all about different therapy types, just because I feel like finding the therapy that works for you is the most important part to get the recovery that you want and to get the path that you need to gain the knowledge to recover from whatever you are suffering from. I have had lots of different therapy in the past, I'd say about 5 years. So the first type of therapy I had was talking therapy, which is like classed as counselling at school. I had one lot of this in about year 7, and then I also had it in year 9, 10 and 11. I had it the whole way through secondary school pretty much, and alongside this I was doing my adoption support work, so I had a lot going on during school, so I felt the need to talk to somebody and to try and get it all off my chest, because when you're like 11 it's a lot to deal with when you've got a lot of mental stress. So yeah, I went to my school and I said that I was suffering, and they gave me counselling inside of school just with one of their school counsellors, and I used to do 1 session a week and we'd just talk about everything that's going on in my mind, everything I wanted to get off my chest and just talk about. And she would tell me like little exercises that I should work on over the next week just to try and feel a little bit happier. And during this talking therapy, the one thing that really sticks out and that I really remember is that they talked about self-care quite a lot. I feel it's quite important, especially because a lot of schools don't incorporate how important it is to look after yourself whilst going through like exams and stuff, because it is a really stressful time, and if you don't look after yourself you're not going to get out of it what you want. So yeah, they used to talk quite a lot about making like a little box, putting in all things that you do if you want to take care of yourself. So like in mine it was have a bath, have a hot chocolate with some marshmallows, watch a nice cozy film, spend time with my mum and dad, and things like that that would make me happy. And I'd put them in a box, and then if I was at home and I felt this anxiety take over me, I could open this box and do one of the things that I had previously wrote down in the hope that it would make me feel like a little bit better. So I personally thought the talking therapy for what I needed at that point in my life was very good, very helpful. However, obviously as my anxiety got more severe, just talking about it didn't help. I needed some coping strategies in place to help me. So personally the talking therapy did work, and then I decided to go to the doctors and I got a referral to CAMS, which is Child Adolescent Mental Health Services, and I don't know if they're just a Lincoln based or if they are like a worldwide based company, but yeah, I went to the one in Lincoln and I went there for about a year. It was in 2016 till 2017, like halfway through the year. And at this point my main struggles with my anxiety was illness, like health anxiety basically as a whole, but especially being sick. We all know I don't like that. I've done a whole video on emetophobia which I'll leave linked up here. I didn't like being alone, so I could never be in the house by myself. If my mum or dad just literally went to the co-op in the village, even if I felt like absolute death, I'd still go with them because I didn't want to be in that house for like 5 minutes alone. Absolutely hated public transport. I hated getting in the car. I hated going on buses especially. I didn't like trains either, and at that point in my life I was my ex Charlie, who lived like a train journey away, so I used to have to get the train to his house, and I really struggled the whole way through our relationship with getting on the train. CAMS definitely did help me with that. First they did talking therapy, and then when they realised that wasn't working, they decided to give me a go on c.b.t, which is cognitive behavioural therapy. I went once a week to these sessions and I developed a whole booklet full of coping strategies about how our brain works and how these fears become big anxiety, and all the things that I was doing at that point, like avoiding the situation, not getting on the train, not going into school, not being by myself, they were only stimulating the anxiety further, because I was teaching my brain that that wasn't safe. If I did that I wouldn't be safe. So my brain was in this like mindset that if I was to get on a train that I'd die or something. And it was quite challenging because it's about teaching your brain to think, actually I can do it. With my CBT in particular, we used to make a ladder and put the most challenging thing at the top, and then we'd write little steps that we could do each week to try and get to the point where I could then get on the bus by myself. So it would be the first week I'd walk to the bus stop, second week I'd get on the bus, just literally, and then get off at the next stop. And then I'd get on the bus and like stay on for 10 minutes and then stay on for 20 minutes. And then I also always had to ring somebody and talk to somebody whilst I was on the bus or listen to music. And then eventually it got to the point where I had trained my brain that I could do it without that. And I didn't have to have that constant reminder that there's someone on the other end of the phone. My niece is just singing in the background if you can hear that. And this was the point where my health anxiety really started, because I had been suffering with my stomach condition for about a year now at this point, and it was really affecting my life. I wasn't going to school and all these different things that were stimulating this anxiety even further, because by not doing it I was never going to be able to do it, because I was just telling myself that I can't, when in actual fact we can. So I had CBT for over a year, and then it got to the point where I was 18 and I was discharged, because you can only be in that service till you are 18, because it is for adolescents, and when you hit 18 you are classed as an adult. So then you have to either go to adult therapy or private therapy, or at that point if you feel like you're better, then yeah, you don't have to go to any. So I went about, I'd probably say about 6 months to a year without any therapy, and over this time my anxiety was getting worse and worse and worse, and things that never used to bother me started to bother me, and it was just getting to the point where I couldn't leave my house again. So I then had Emdr therapy. Basically EMDR is a type of trauma therapy, so it's like for people that have got PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, or have had significant life events that have really traumatized their brain, and it's about training your brain to rethink these. So it basically allows your brain to move all these traumatic events in your head over to your long-term memory instead of your short-term memory, which in fact is supposed to help your symptoms go, because it's no longer in your short-term memory and you're not consciously thinking about it all the time. So basically how EMDR works is when we're asleep your eyes are flickering, and that's where your brain is processing the day's events. So everything that's happened that day, when you're asleep your brain's thinking about it. So your therapist will use like hand movements, buzzers, tapping to stimulate your brain to relive this trauma. And my therapist would go through it and she'd talk about how I felt, what emotions I felt, colours that I represent it with, how it felt, what happened, was it really as bad as I thought it was. And it in turn really helped me. I honestly recommend EMDR therapy to anybody that CBT doesn't work for, because it honestly changed my life. It really helped me to get over a lot of my fears, and even now I feel so much more confident in the fact that I can deal with things and that I can get through it because I've had this therapy. Now I will say that my personal opinion on this is it is very hard. EMDR is not easy. If you found CBT hard, EMDR, because you are reprocessing everything that has happened, you then get quite upset, you can get quite angry at things that had happened, and everything that had happened basically you just relive it. So it's very hard to do, and I definitely say that you need a support network around you whilst doing EMDR, because it can make you feel very down in the dumps. So yeah, with EMDR it's really important to find the right therapist for you, because it's really important that you can speak openly about everything that has happened in a non-judgmental, safe environment, because if you can't talk about it then it will never get better. And the brain is very clever. It works in wonderful ways, and sometimes we just don't understand why. But recovery isn't a straight line. Even years down the line, even years down the line you might find bumps in the road and things might come back up, but as long as you've got them coping strategies to deal with it and to overcome it, then you're on the right path to recovery. Sitting here now, I can say recovery is possible. You can get there. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of perseverance, but you can get there. And then the last therapy that I used was buzzer therapy, which is similar to EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, which is often used in tapping, where you like tap when you're doing your EMDR to really process it in your brain. But I used buzzers, which I held in both hands whilst my eyes were closed, and it would really get that sensation into your body to feel like you're okay. And that works in the same way as acupuncture, because it's using on your nerves that you need to stimulate to feel better, basically, I think. I think that's why, anyway. But yeah, so for me, I honestly think whatever works for you, there will be something that works for you. You just got to find it, and just know that just because you've gone to therapy doesn't mean you'll be cured like 100%, because nobody will ever be cured 100%, because we create new anxieties in our brain all of the time. But as long as you've got them coping methods and the strategies to cope, you can recover. Not a problem. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's little self-care Sunday all about therapy. Let me know in the comments down below or on social media what therapies you found really helpful, because I'd love to know. I'm all for suggestions. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up, click the subscribe button, and I'll see you next week with some brand new videos.